really British, Joris, are. These two, in the game right now, game 1 of a best of 5, do the honours and introduce them.
Most certainly, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the ESET UK Masters Showdown this evening. We're starting off with the best of 5 featuring 2 incredibly talented British players, and we start first in the bottom left-hand corner of Star Station, where we have our red Protoss. Representing EDE, we have Spida. And not quite joining him in the hip lingo of how his username is spelt, in the top right-hand corner we have from Team Last Resort, our blue Zerg player. It is none other than Revolution.
Now, your new place has beautiful acoustics. It sounds really yeah, when you speak, it's your mic sounds really swish, unless you've got a new mic, of course.
It must have something to do with the way sound reverberates off of stacks of cardboard boxes, Maddles, because that's exactly the environment I'm in right now.
That's clearly the secret. Clearly the secret. We like, seriously, at MLG, at whatever, just like put cardboard boxes everywhere. It'll only make the sound quality brilliant.
And in other unrelated news, I'm going to force you to solo cast for the next 20 seconds as I go to grab some kitchen towel to mop up the Diet Coke that's just gone over my desk.
Oh, pro moves there. So, I'm going to reveal the top secrets plan we've got out of Spida right now. He has got a gateway coming down and a gas coming down. That means one thing, a gateway expand. Why is this such a good build on Star Station? It's simple. Taking a third isn't the easiest thing you could be hoping for as a Protoss against Zerg. Therefore, you want to try and get a bit more pressure on, go for some nice 2-base aggression, try to deny Revolution's third, and then you're going to be in a much more comfortable spot. You need some units on the ground. So, all in all, I think it's a really, really smart move by Spida.
And luckily, everything appears to be controlled.
It does. Has the flood of Diet Coke been fixed?
Okay, so it wasn't quite a flood. Basically, it was like a patch, sort of like an inch by an inch, and it also conveniently spilled on my Razer Specs mouse mat, which means it didn't actually sink through to the table.
That is really good. That is useful.
Pretty, and because it's Diet Coke, there's no sugar in it, and I'm not just saying that from like a diet point of view. I actually mean that's a good thing, because it means that even if, you know, it spills somewhere and dries up, it doesn't stay sticky. Which is why...
That is very cool.
Yeah, if you're serious about your esports, drink diet soft drinks. That's like pro tip of the day.
I just drink tea. I'm just like teeing it all up everywhere. Even on like...
If you add sugar to your tea, then it still gets sticky if it dries.
I don't add sugar to my tea. I'm sweet enough already, Jorisar, but no, of course, we should probably discuss about these two Zerglings chipping away at a Nexus, and that Mothership Core is having none of it. Pushing them back, one does die, and this is opening up for quite passive, and the one thing we haven't touched upon is that for some people, these two players may not be easily recognizable names. They are both UK players, both in High Masters, and are very, very good at the game.
Yep, and I think, well, both of them are pretty high average APMs as well, so definitely base mechanical skill there for both of them. Of course, trying to break into the big time. This is why we have these show matches on here, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are wondering, hey, who are these guys? It's you need to get to a certain level before you start breaking into the big leagues, before you start reaching the levels of recognition that we see, like really obvious big EU superstars. Takes TLO for example, and you really start off by winning small tournaments and small show matches, and this is kind of what the undercard tournament is here, brought to you by the ESET UK Masters. We basically bring out the best in British gamers, where we get to pit Masters, High Masters, occasionally GM players against each other in the undercard match before we move on to the best of 9 events. So this is basically the ESET equivalent of, I would say, of like Code A, if you will, in the UK.
It is. It's allowing these players who may not have a huge following yet to get a big audience. It allows you to watch a little bit of warm-up StarCraft, and yeah, then we'll go on to, obviously, the best of 9, which today is Fusa versus Western Wolf, sort of. So, quick little pause there, and yeah, this poor Zealot is going to die.
It is indeed, surrounded by way too many Zerglings for it to handle at this early stage of the game, as Spida, all the way back home, has just dropped down the Stargate in addition to those extra gases. He'll be able to pump those out very, very quickly indeed, and possibly get some units out to see if he can do some damage to this drone line.
Now, unfortunately, we've got a sentry getting caught out here. Revolution doing a really nice job, getting the proxy pylon as well. This shuts down all of the production, but behind this, Spida getting out a Stargate. I love a Stargate on Star Station because there's a lot of dead space, and with dead space, you can get very aggressive. Do you reckon it'll be a Phoenix, Voidway, or Oracle?
See, I would like to see a Phoenix first, which is what's going to happen, but I would then like to see an Oracle follow-up, because one thing that I've seen some players start to do, but not very many yet, Maddles, is using a Phoenix to remove Overlords in the dead space around a map so that Oracles can move in on shorter notice later on and prevent players from reacting appropriately. So that's something I'd love to see come out of Spida here.
It's a really smart play. Of course, going for a lot of Phoenix is also a great move as well, because one, it means you keep the harassment, you keep the Overlords down, but it also stops the Zerg player from really committing to going to Mutalisks unless they're really intent on it. And if you stop Mutalisk play, actually you're limiting the Zerg's options and you have a much nicer time and can narrow down what they're likely going to be throwing at you and get a much nicer army composition in the mid-game.
No, that's really true, actually. You need to get to a point where those air units can actually make a big difference, and one of the things that Revolution is doing at the moment to try and counteract this is to go for a much larger economy. He's actually taking that third base in the top center right now. And a lot of people have said Star Station, is a really difficult map to take and hold that third base on. But his creep spread has been okay so far. But I get the impression that if Spida knows about this top central base, which he doesn't at the moment, there are often like really nice +1 timings, and things like that can just go in, snipe off the hatch and come out. So I'm really anxious to see what Spida's response to seeing the third base is. I think that's going to be really crucial in this game.
So he's coming in with those Phoenix at the moment. He's going to try and do a little bit of damage, really just get a good read on what his opponent's going for. A couple of Overlords potentially going to go down. Queens are forward spreading creep, and that's one thing Revolution is doing spectacularly. He's getting a lot of creep spread very early on. The Queens unfortunately will go down, but ultimately,
he hasn't spotted the hatch.
No, he hasn't spotted the hatch.
Okay,
there we go. There we see it. So this is good, because if you didn't see that, you would be slightly concerned. But actually, a lot of Speedlings running across the map at the moment. Revolution going to be going for some damage while taking his hive behind him.
Oh, and this is interesting. He's taking... So, what do you think of this move from Spida, actually? He's seen the third base. He already sees that it's up and mining, and it has a Spore Crawler there. So his response to this is actually, oh, never mind, the Zergling's trying to get a couple of sentries off there. We'll be able to pick a few off, but actually the force fields are all right. Spida going for the third base instead of using that money to try and get as many units out as possible to kill off the third from Revolution. What do you think of that, Maddles?
It's an interesting play, because when we take a look at what Revolution's going for, getting that hive down exceptionally early, it's 11 minutes, and he's finished his hive as he starts 2-2. So really, really tech-heavy build. He's getting only Lings out, and that would lead it to a situation where actually if you went for some 2-base pain, it could be really effective. So Spida, instead, going to tech up, getting some Colossi out, going for the extended thermal lance, and trying to get a really big economy. But Revolution will have Ultras out very shortly, and they can put on a lot of pressure.
Fastest Ultras EU, man. This is like... These are going to be very, very quick, and even that Zealot is not actually in the middle of that, but the Colossus getting surrounded by a bunch of Lings. A couple of force fields going down the Colossus. Looks like it will it barely survive here? There are still 3 Lings hitting it, and yes, it does. A little bit of a mistake there from Spida, able to just about hold on. And the one thing I do want to say, actually, Maddles, this game so far, the Phoenixes really haven't done much. 1 worker killed.
That's really one thing that we could potentially criticize Spida for, is those Phoenix need to be active. If they don't kill off workers, if they're not harassing, getting you good map vision and dominance and trying to keep the Zerg player back, they're wasted supply and money, and you don't want to be doing that from an opener. But what I'm loving from Revolution is he's got Vipers coming out. The Vipers with the Zerglings and Ultralisks, some good abducts on Colossi, and you're going to be able to tear through that Protoss force, especially in the low numbers of units we're likely to see with the timing push. Add in Adrenal Glands, and you have suddenly got a spectacular army that is just going to decimate a Protoss force.
Now, what Spida has done so far this game, though, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom for our Protoss at the moment. If we take a quick look at the units lost tab, for example, we can see Revolution has lost nearly...
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, but some Vipers tailing a lot of fire by the Hive. That could have been massive, but Revolution did react just in time there.
Good transfuse as well to make sure that one goes back up to full health in case the Phoenixes come back in. Great spot there, Maddles. I think that Revolution actually threw away a lot of Zerglings to get to this point. He lost over 2,000 minerals to the 800 of Spida, and he basically sacrificed that so he can tech up and get into this position. But he's now moving out with a couple of Vipers and 3 Ultralisks. Is this actually enough to take on the army at this stage? Our Zerg players only at 150 supply. This feels a little premature if he moves forward.
What he's aiming for is to try and hit the point before too many Immortals or Colossi are out, and he's going to be aiming to get some good abducts down on those key units, because ultimately, with only 2 Colossi down, if they're dead, there's 7 Stalkers and 8 Zealots to defend against 7 Ultralisks. It's never going to be a fun engagement for a Protoss player.
No, that's a great point, actually, because when he moved out, he started with 2, and I was worried he was going to move straight out across the map, but now that he's capping out at the Watchtower and he has 7 Ultras, that makes perfect sense. I was worried he was going to move out with 2, abduct the Colossi, and even if you do, it's like, they can actually just walk back against 2 Ultras and a bunch of Lings, because there were enough Zealots to tank that. But now he's got 7 here, you're absolutely right. The Phoenixes see everything, though, so Spida's a good sense of what's coming out, and 2 Immortals are now popping out. That's huge.
Really smart move using those Phoenix, not just for the vision, but also to zone out the Vipers. And that's really what they're aiming to do. If they keep these Vipers back, no abducts can go down. Nexus Cannon does get activated, and, well, this is a tough spot to be in.
The Immortals are in the natural! The Immortals aren't participating in this fight, Metals.
They're not participating in the fight. A good abduct goes down, a single Colossus gets moved forward, but they both manage to stay up, and Revolution is not coming off the better of this engagement.
No, like, he had the right idea, and unfortunately just completely the wrong execution there. Both Colossi remain alive. The Mothership Core, interestingly, was abducted as well, but no damage could be done to it. So that was, to be honest, like, a good idea, but not that great an execution from Revolution.
The one thing I do want to give credit to Spida for, though, is the use of Phoenix there. Against the Vipers, he used them very proactively, knowing that there's no anti-air in Revolution's army, in order to completely zone the Vipers out. And if they're zoned out, they're unable to get the abducts off, which is why those Colossi were able to stay alive for so long and not really take much damage, because Revolution had to commit so heavily. But now, running in with some Speedlings, this 4th is not going to be happening.
No, it really isn't. That probe bites the dust. A really nice, I want to point out the army composition, though, for Revolution right now. It's a little bit confusing. It's only Lings and Ultras. There's no other support, and actually the Zealot sees at the Watchtower as well, so it's not even a mystery. I get the impression that this is giving Spida an opportunity to get the kind of army composition that he ideally wants against this, because we don't see Infestors in the background. We don't see... He's got the Greater Spire, so he might actually go into Broodlords here, but I just don't think the Lings and Ultras alone can be that effective.
They can't be. The only thing really going for the plus side for Revolution is that he does... There's not very many Colossi in Spida's armor, and that lack of Colossi in Splash, with only the 2 Archons in addition, means that a lot of Zerglings could be quite helpful. However, Psionic Storm just completing as I speak. Once that starts hitting, Zerglings are just going to get fried.
Yeah, and that extra damage to biological units from the Archons as well is going to help against both the Lings and the Ultras there. So a reasonable unit choice there, a reasonable number of Immortals in Spida's army as well. And he's going to be able to take his 4th quite safely here. The Ling's trying to come around the side, and the gap is open. He's going to get into the natural, and oh god, 2 cannons are not going to do anything against this. And I think I just heard Spida kicking himself.
Yeah, 3-3 cracklings in the main. The Templar Archives goes down. That means no more High Templar. There's only a couple on the field at the moment. The Stalkers do come back trying to stop this, but so many probes are starting to go down. Revolution has killed 21 this game, now just engaging the Zealots in a choke, and that is really the best thing that Spida could hope for, but he lost a lot through that run by, and really nice move from the Zerg player.
Spida has to go and try and deny expansions right now from Revolution. I mean, he's taken the entire top portion of the map, and he is transitioning into Broodlords as well, which the current army from Spida... I mean, there are a decent number of Stalkers there, but once the Broodlords get up to a half-decent number, with Ultras underneath them as well, don't forget, it'll be so difficult for him to breach that. Even if he blinks in, for example, the Ultras will have a field day with those Stalkers. This is a really tricky situation.
What is also a tricky situation, though, Jorisar, is the fact that Spida is pushing in to Revolution's 3rd. He's got a lot of units there. The one thing that isn't anywhere close, though, is the Mothership Core, which is a long way back, meaning Matt Regal isn't an option, but Revolution is coming back to try and defend this, and I just don't see how he's going to be able to push into this at the moment.
Here we go. Good abduct on the Colossus. And decent storm, but it actually goes off on all his Phoenixes as well, which is mainly what he accomplishes there, unfortunately. Stalker's blinking back, trying to use that bonus damage to Armored as much as it can. And the Immortals actually looking like they're going to do a massive job. So many Ultras left alive, but all of them are on red health. It looks like Spida might win this battle, but only just. But here come the Broodlords, and that changes everything.
10 Broodlords morphing in Jorisar. This is going to be big. It's going to be great, and these Broods are going to be so strong. 72 Zergling supporting as well. You can see the Spinecrawler is doing just a nice job of delaying this movement into the 4th phase. Speedlings coming out, and against only Stalkers and an Archon, not going to have too much success, but in come a whole stream more, and this is where Spida is not going to be too happy.
Yeah, I think Spida really... Ooh, very nice. If he moves those Stalkers back, there's a chance he can blink onto the low ground and get away, but it looks like he's not doing that. Nope. Just going to try and get as much damage done as he can, not attempting to save the units there. Now, Spida needs a lot of Stalkers very quickly, but what he really needs are a lot of Stargate units. He's got Stargates number 2 and 3 in progress in his main base right now, but there's no way he's getting enough units out in time to stop his 4th going down, and I think his 3rd, to be honest, is looking a bit dicey at the moment as well.
And the problem here is what he could really do with are some Void Rays. Void Rays would be amazing here, and he does start one, but look at the bank. There's just not enough money. There's not enough money there. Ultimately, 48 probes are remaining on the field, and that is just not the critical mass you need to be able to support such high production. Spida down to under 100 supply. Some good abduct going. The Corruptor's obviously dealing well with the Colossi, but Revolution, he's got so many Broodlords.
Yeah, this is looking unbelievably difficult right now. I think Revolution has this game in the bag. GG, which means our Zerg player from Team Last Resort is going to take game number 1.